Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burnettwork. Welcome to Positive Fandom, and welcome to the For All Mankind Season 4, Episode 9 review. I'm RM, and of course, I'm here with Julian Mushkin. Julian, how are you tonight?
I am doing great tonight, RM, and how about yourself?
I'm doing wonderfully, and I also want to say hello to my moderator, collaborator, and good friend, Tom Jr. Jackson, who is here, who says hello and welcome to the For All Mankind Season 4, Episode 9 recap. Please click like and subscribe buttons and enjoy the show, everybody. Yes, thank you so much for that, Tom. So, Julian, what an episode. What an episode. And it's interesting because it starts, we knew that Sam was on this ship, and somehow she had to find some way to switch out that component or else everything would be lost. And she does it very well. Julian, she used the old water in your engine trick.
Yeah. Banana in the tailpipe.
Banana in the tailpipe, water in the engine, literally water in that component.
Sugar in the gas tank.
Sugar in the gas tank. This was a classic. I think Sam has a few tricks up her sleeve that we don't know about. In fact, I think if the shit went down on that ship that she's on, she'd be the one survivor, Julian. What do you think? Do you think Sam has planned a special escape just in case all of this stuff does not work?
I don't know. She was hard pressed. I mean, she was right up to they're about ready to do this thing, and she was like, how am I going to do this? And they were even worried back on Mars. They were like, she's been on there. I can't remember how long they said she'd been on there, and they still hadn't been able to switch it over. They were worried that it wasn't going to happen. So that was pretty good that she was able to find an available way to be a time when Paul was forward looking at what was going on at the control stations there. He wasn't keeping an eye on her. So yeah, she get the old little squeegee bottle with a drop of liquid, and there you go.
Yeah,
the old switcheroo.
Really it is the old switcheroo. However, this was not the most challenging thing that we saw in this episode. Certainly, what we witnessed, in this most recent episode, was, I think, what we predicted, that there would be deaths. We knew there would be deaths. At least there's only one death that I'm absolutely certain took place. Just one that I'm absolutely sure took place. I'm not quite sure if the other one took place, but it kind of revolves around, Mama coming home from her spacewalk and being very upset with how she's being treated by Ed. And of course, Kelly is very suspicious. She knows Ed never liked Dev. And since they're like bosom buddies, she's like, I don't really like this. What the hell is going on? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, she's smart to realize there was something weird going on there. But he manages to kind of, send her on the wrong track, so to speak, by kind of like telling her about how he wants to stay on Mars and his fears about going home, and how that's been making him kind of antsy. I don't think he gets around to telling her that. I mean, she knows, I think, from what Dev has said, that Dev wants to make Mars a place for a colony. He wants people to be able to go out there and live on Mars. And so I think that's pretty common knowledge. And at least Kelly Kelly should know that that's part of his thought process. So I guess by telling her kind of like a half truth, he's kind of like helping her assuage her fears by thinking that that's it, and that would be why they're kind of seeing eye to eyes, because they both want to stay on Mars. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But I think she's still a little suspicious.
She's totally suspicious of this. We've all been suspicious. Why are they bosom buddies? You know, they didn't think about what this would look like, and it's aroused suspicion in practically everybody. Nobody believes this farce. People know that there's a lot of like backstabbing. This is like they smile in your face all the while they want to take your place, the backstabbers. This whole thing has just become this you know, how can I pacify you until I get what I want, or until, you know, you flip out and we have to do drastic measures. And there's a lot of drastic measures in this episode with Kelly not buying any of this shit. She's like, I don't yet. I know you're crying. I know you're telling me how you feel. I know you don't want to go to retirement home. I know that you were crushed by everything, but I'm not taking your bullshit. What's going on, Dad? And it felt so good to see her do that. It felt so good to see Kelly be like, yeah, I'm not buying that, Dad. And she was just like, you know, giving him that eye. Here you can see she doesn't understand why the guys are working together. They're spending a lot of time together, and Dev is just so smug, and he's playing, you know, with Alex, and Alex is like, I want to play chess again, and Dev is like, well, not right now. I've got to go divert the meteor. I mean, go get some food. I'll be back later, Alex. It's like he's almost he's almost doesn't even realize how fake he's coming across, and Kelly's not buying it, and she's just like, I don't think so. You know, I think she's finding even more aggravation because she's found some interesting methane readings, and she's like, well, one crater has an incredible amount of methane, and it's possible that it could be from a bacteria that's creating methane. And Dev is like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't understand. We could discover life. This could be more valuable, what we discover, more valuable than the asteroid or meteor, whatever you want to call it. It could be more valuable than that. I want you to discover it, he tells her. Boy, Julian, this was the fakest of the fake, like, letdown when she was excited to tell him what she was anticipating, what she was hoping for. He just was like, yeah, whatever. He must know that she's not a fool. Julian, what is Kelly thinking right now?
She's not. I think that's another part of her suspicion with Ed, because here's Dev had been setting her up saying, oh, all could be great stuff, and he's obviously you know, being kind of like, think his mind is elsewhere, and she knows it. And so she's like, what is up with that? Why is he so, you know, preoccupied when I'm giving him all this great information that he wanted to be part of? So yeah, that was part of her suspicions too. So yeah, it's all kind of like building up. She knows something weird is going on.
Yeah, and it is something weird,
With
and
both of them, but you know, she really expected. Yeah, and
yeah.
he didn't. So.
And I do also want to thank Tanya Jackson for putting my link up for my new channel, Roman Empire Matters. I've got some new content coming out next week for the channel, which is very exciting. I'm so excited to be doing it. And thank you guys for your support. Also want to say hello to Daniel Barry's Sports Highlights says, yo, how are you? And also Gary Banda Sandwich Worthington, who says switcheroo day. It is. Also, my other channel, Positive Fandom. I hope you guys are liking and subscribing there. Lugnut6 is here, who says, hi to that beautiful, exotic, and sweet heavenly paradise, Arm, and to the one and only Mr. Cool, Julian. Well, hello, Lugnut6.
Thank you
I
for
do
that.
and also to Darth Plato, who's here, who says hello to everybody as well. So good to see you guys here. Also, Tom, do you have the link to your channel as well? Maybe put that in there so we can put it up as well. Yeah, Julian, you know, I think that what's going to happen for Kelly is that she's going to be incredibly disappointed. You know, it's gone beyond the point of any kind of recovery, and they haven't really been careful enough. They haven't been covering their tracks at all. You know, why have they been so footloose and fancy free with like $1 billion worth of equipment?
Yeah, they really underestimated their, you know, their, I don't want to say enemies or opponents or, you know, but they underestimated Danielle. They underestimated everybody. And, you know, that whole thing about we need to see what's going on. So the whole thing with the link in the Korean, you know, the North Korean base there, and the commander spots it. It's like, oh man. And he's like, I'm going to track this down. And of course, he's bitching at Danielle, and she's like, I'll get down to the bottom of this. And she does. Pretty lickety split. Yeah. So they should have known that once that was found, they should have known that that was a possibility, that that was going to get, you know, found out. And who were they going to go to? They were going to go to Miles, of course, because they knew that he was running a, you know, black market. But I think with the other guy before him, he wouldn't have stuck his head out to help them very much.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
he wouldn't have taken the chance.
And I think it's also very interesting how the Koreans get involved in this, in the sense, because he's still asking for his wife. And I just love how he slipped in this comment. It's nice to have your family around you like you have, isn't it? And I'm like, I think they've gone too far with him. He's not buying this anymore. Like he's talking to you, but he's telling you right there that he doesn't believe them anymore. Are they catching on that he's not taking any more of this shit either?
Well, he did go ahead and let them, you know, hook up that link through their surveillance. So, you know, that there was that. He let them do it, but it was sloppy. It was real sloppy. So,
and guys, make sure you subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel. Here's the link in the chat and on the screen here. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Julian, you were saying.
Well, you know, by the end, of course, we know he's full in now. There's no going back for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dreaming about this reunion, you know, and look at his face. He's like, he's pissed. Ironically, they find the transmitter, which was not really hidden. And, you know, this relationship that Milos has with his contraband, if you will, gets discovered because this guy is so observant over some of the incredible footage that he's seeing, like people disappearing into elevators and never coming out. Even I caught on that. And if I caught on it, it was overly obvious, okay? Because I am not kind of the Mission Impossible kind of person. If I could see that, if I could see there was a discrepancy, then surely, you know, everybody on Earth could see this. And this guy's going down there. He's looking, he's like, where's that located? Why was he really looking? Because the Koreans are not in any danger. They know everything that's going on. I think they knew about that black market thing anyway. Why did he really go down there to follow Milos and everybody else, do you think?
Because they're paranoid. He's paranoid. He knows there's something going on. It's like, how did they get in here? And of course, they knew that Miles had been the only one who had actually been in their space. You know, I don't know why he didn't make an assumption that his comrade, who had been with, you know, the Westerners before, you know, on the early mission to Mars, why he might not be. It's like he made an assumption that his comrade hadn't, you know, gone back, you know, or was still a faithful servant of the people, so to speak. But not only that, but, you know, the Soviet and NASA, you know, the personnel there in Happy Valley, they got complacent. They thought, you know, they weren't looking as hard at the camera evidence as this guy was, because they were like, we locked this stuff off. They can't get, you know, through. They were sure that they'd been able to lock everything off and close off those dark, you know, deeper sections of the base. So no, they got complacent and they thought it was all good. So they weren't looking. He was just like a, you know, a hound on the hunt there. He's like, I'm going to find out what's going on. because I know it's this guy. He must have. What did they want doing this? Why? And so yeah, he found that evidence. I don't think anybody else would have seen that. They weren't looking for that. They're not expecting it. They see someone get on an elevator and they go, you know.
And they also didn't want to see it.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's a possibility that they didn't want to, because there's like, why believe that this kind of thing is going on? It wasn't until they realized how much material was suddenly, missing, that they got really worried.
Yeah, and Milos is under the radar, but he's as cool as a cucumber, and this poor guy ends up getting strangled by his own man. I'm assuming he's deceased. I'm not going to say he's definitely deceased, but he looked like it was really, really difficult. And honestly, I don't know how or why. Why they just didn't tie him up? They didn't have to kill this man. This was a desperate act, Julian, and I don't think they were prepared. No one talked about, well, what if somebody walks in on us while we're doing this? Why weren't these discussions had, and why didn't they have a guard for security, Julian?
Well, everybody's complacent. Remember, I've been mentioning how I'm uncomfortable with how complacent everybody seems to be throughout the whole season. I'm like, why is everybody so complacent about going about this stuff with everything? The whole attitude towards how they're doing. I don't know if he killed him either. It's possible that he just subdued him to unconsciousness. One would hope so, but if that's what happened, they are going to have to tie him up, secure him, put him somewhere to keep him out of the way until they achieve what they're planning to achieve. So I don't know. We may have had either one, at least one definite kill, murder, death, kill, and maybe we've had two. I don't know.
Yeah. No, this is a good point. And I'm also wondering, when it comes to Alita, she's fed up with this. She doesn't want to pass notes for Margot and Sergey. Sergey is completely obsessed with Alita, and I get it. I mean, Margot, and I get it. I almost get a sense that Sergey is in love with her after what we experienced in this episode. But Alita's like, look, I'm done. I've done everything I can, but then she asks them to go to her house.
Yeah.
Julian.
It was crazy. I'm surprised that Margot's handler didn't insist that he come inside with her. I mean, that's really lax. It's like, oh, I'm going to go and be, somewhere where you can't see what the hell I'm doing, engaging with, these Yankee Westerners with my, former country people, and who knows what kind of messages we might be passing back and forth, and you won't know it. I'm like, well, that was darn convenient to let him, do that.
Well, the first thing that I was thinking was, it's potluck at Alita's, but then I thought to myself, is Sergey in on the asteroid Mars scheme? Because he's suggesting things that I was not expecting. He has his own agenda. I mean, I love Carnival in South America. I love all that. But Julian, were you expecting Sergey to say, let's go ahead and hop to another country? I mean, Sergey's already been, kind of causing issues the first time around. I just can't believe he thinks that everything would be smooth going for him. Were you surprised when he told Margot, let's run away to Brazil?
He was very optimistic, a little bit too optimistic. He was not being realistic in his appreciation of the situation. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and I think what's really even more interesting about it is that it seems like Margot's going along with this. And I'm not necessarily saying that she should or shouldn't. It's just that I didn't get the impression from Margot that she wanted to go anywhere else other than the United States. So I was a little surprised when she was on board with it. And it's not a surprise that Danielle did an inventory and they found stuff missing. And, I think Eli, who's head of NASA, seems to have figured out that if there's missing product, there must be something going on. And so you have these agents who are activated. I'm just seeing if I can find it. And Miles ends up getting he ends up getting tortured and arrested. But you know something, Julian? I have a feeling that this is not the first time that Miles has ever been tortured or interrogated. What do you think?
Uh, I don't know. I'm sure he's had his run-ins with, toughs where he grew up, perhaps. But I mean, there's nothing to really, you know, uh, inform us that he was involved with, like gangs or something that would have, beat him up for or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. All we know is he worked on oil rigs, and there's a somewhat a element of toughness having to work those things anyway. So, but I don't know if he's ever been you know beat to hell like these guys are. I don't know about having been tortured. So this will be something else.
Well, I just think that Miles seemed to handle himself when Ilya kind of tried to push hard on him. And now he's not getting roughhoused by his homies, but by professional, intelligence people. And he's feeling the pain, like he's in freaking pain. And I have to wonder, with all the chances that he's taken, he knows that they're not bothering him for, deodorant and mouthwash and Old Spice. Like he must know that that's not the reason why they're all up in his grill. Why
Well,
does
of
he want to
course.
play coy and pretend like what he was doing didn't have anything to do with moving a ton of equipment around, which I'm guessing they know he's the one who moved it.
Well, yeah, that's why they targeted him. So, they see him as the guy who's involved with it all. So, of course, they're going to assume that he knows it. So that's why they grabbed him. So, I mean, it's just it. How well will he keep the secret? Or will he? Who knows? How much is it worth to him? He's
Yeah,
already he knows they already they already said you've been evading taxes with hiding what you've been sending back home and selling it through false fronts and stuff like that. However, it is that all his the Mars rocks. However, he was selling them at home. So I'm kind of surprised they haven't already taken care of that.
exactly. And certainly the biggest bombshell of the night was what looked like was going to be a wonderful, I guess, hotel room speakeasy moment between Sergey and, let's say, between Sergey and Margot, because they were just having such a warm and pleasant time at Alita's, which is not easy to have with Alita's she's a little rough on the outside, but they managed to, everybody's like, that's it, dinner's over. Let's get the hell out of this room. They got to talk. And they made their rendezvous situation. She's looking at, Brazilian space program. And they're like, it's going to be just like when we were original, Apollo days or whatever. Who would have guessed that poor Sergey is, he's been murdered. He's been assassinated. Were you surprised that this happened to Sergey?
No, I was surprised it didn't happen sooner. I knew that was exactly what was going to happen to him. Uh,
Well, I guess they're going to report the crime. I was just thinking to myself that now that everybody knows something is up and the entire base, everybody's searching around, they know exactly what's going on. How is this all going to play out? Are more people going to fall? I hope they don't do anything to Danielle. They had this sweet soliloquy of Danielle talking to her family back home. And she had said, the one thing that I always regretted was that I missed your first steps, but now I'm going to see the first steps of my granddaughter. And that really scares me, Julian,
oh
because
yeah, I caught that feeling too. Yeah.
I really want her to make it down to earth. Um, I never thought Sergey was going to go out like this, but Was he too confident?
Well, yeah, he was totally overconfident. He knew who Irina was. He knew what she was totally capable of, and for him to think that him showing up and sneaking around trying to see Margot wasn't going to be reported by Margot's handlers to Irina. She's probably got a, like, she probably had a shoot on sight. As soon as they ID'd who it was, they had a plan in place to take him out. They've probably been wanting to. I'm surprised that he lasted in Iowa as long as he did. She probably figured that he was, he's of no use to me anymore. I don't need him. So why waste the time trying to take him out? He's out of play. I don't care about him. But once he got in Margot's orbit and started saying, we should go off and escape, you can't go back to Russia, you're in danger, Irina's like, I ain't letting that happen. No way, no how.
Yeah, and Gary says there's plenty of violence in this episode. Boom, boom, bad burger bullet. Darth Plato says that Sergey was dead man walking as soon as he met with Margot.
Exactly.
Maybe they would have let him alone. But then what happens for anyone who has anything to do with this? Darth Plato says if the asteroid goes to Mars, Margot's next. One thing that they did not consider by killing Sergey was that Margot is actually using his trajectory calculations in order to make the mission a success. And now that he's gone, is there a possibility that his death will affect the outcome anyway? And nothing, like, it won't be producible.
Well, she already has that information from him, though. So I don't know how much more he would have been able to add to the situation for bringing the asteroid in. I think he may have been valuable once they catch on that the asteroid is being taken for a ride. They might not be able to do anything. It's possible that he might have been able to help them avert that, or do something to stop it from happening. But now he's gone, so he's not going to be of any use to anybody. So I don't know.
When he was about to enjoy his meal, it seems so sad. Sergey has, there is another element to this that's was a little awkward, was that he was obviously going to leave his wife for Margot. It almost came off as very, I don't really know what to think of Sergey. I mean, I just don't know what to think of him, truth be told, in the way that he may or may not have been trying to accomplish this. And as Darth Plato says, if the asteroid goes to Mars, Margot's next, meaning she will be unfortunately taken out. I'm guessing that's what you mean, Darth Plato. And David C. Hey, David, how are you? Says his death will be motivation for Margot to go after and destroy Irina Morozova. Now, I was saying that before, Julian. I said, what if Margot goes back to Russia and she doesn't go out? She just doesn't want to lay down and go out. She might want to strike at Irina and just be like, I came back here for you. Do you think she'll even see Irina? Like Sergey says, you won't even see her. What do you think?
Her trying to take out Irina would be like a Boy Scout trying to take out a Navy SEAL. It's like, give me a break. She's not equipped for anything like that, and she doesn't think that deviously. It's not in her nature. She might be very angry about it, but I don't think she has anything in her repertoire of skills to be able to do anything about that. So,
well, Darth Plato makes a good point about the only thing that Margot can do to Irina is to drop the asteroid. Do you think she'll mess it up because after she finds out what has happened to Sergey?
You know what? I don't know what the timeline is as far as when everything is going to happen. It depends on how soon she finds out. She didn't know where Sergey was staying, and so it may be days before she finds out anything about Sergey, and by then the plan could already be in operation. And once that happens, it could be too late.
Oh my goodness gracious. It could be too late. David C says the writers will find a way for her to take down Irina. That's very interesting, David, what you're saying. And I would love to see that. Darth Plato says Margot will hear about it in the news. I think they will identify Sergey and she'll see it and she'll be eating her hamburger. And
she'll never be able to eat hamburgers again. It'll come out that he was shot while eating a hamburger, and then it'll throw her off hamburgers for the rest of her life.
Oh, he had his McDonald's Big Mac there, I think. That is the best. Honestly, Danielle really came through when it comes to just normal operations, allowing her to run the space station effectively. And of course, she along with her inventory group noticed a discrepancy, but she also stated that when she goes back to Earth, she's going to make sure that her grandchildren watch Star Trek. And apparently they're on the third Star Trek. So it's the original series, then it's the next generation, right? And then
and then Deep Space Nine.
Okay. Oh, thank God. Oh, good. I love that she's going to make them watch DS9. Oh my gosh. What happens if she doesn't make it? This is killing me. It really, yeah, that's funny, Basic. Where there's a will, there's Sergey. I think that Danielle needs to make it home in order for this story to make sense, Julian. And in the end, she'll be the one writing the biography about what happened on the station these years further ahead in the final season. She'll be the administrator. Maybe she'll become the head of NASA. Maybe. It would be nice if she would. I think she's certainly paid her dues coming back out of retirement to do all this. Eli, is it Eli? He was, I've never seen him so angry. When he had to call the investigator, let's say the administrator, NASA administrator, former astronaut, and Irina in this, conference call, Zoom conference call. Was it called Zoom? Yeah, maybe it was called Zoom then. Darth Plato says Danielle has been a class act since day one. Absolutely. And I'm just hoping that just her normal day-to-day operations and her ethics will help her survive this debacle, because I have a feeling this whole freaking station is going to shut down. I think it's going to be like this crazy thing going, nuts. And the only person who has an actual escape vehicle is Dev, of course, Julian. Dev, we know that if I'm sorry, Julian, we know that if Dev passes out, that those little robot creatures will come get him and rescue him out of the station. What do you think is going to happen to that station, Happy Valley, at this point? Because it almost feels like the station itself is in risk.
It is, but again, I think they're feeling confident that if they get the asteroid locked into an orbit around Mars, they'll have something to say. They'll have like a big bargaining chip to say, if you want anything from this, you're going to have to go through us now. The Principality of Mars, or whatever the hell they want to call it, the Republic of Mars. So I don't know how. I mean, they have to assume that the governments, at least the U.S. and the Soviets, had, moved like CIA and KGB in to keep tabs on this stuff, especially because of the strike. But I don't know how. I'm not exactly sure how much they would be able to. I guess you kind of get into a thing where they'd have to figure out, okay, once we have it in control, what's to stop them from moving against us? And any, because they could supposedly send forces to try and take the base. So what would they do? Is there some way that they would try and threaten that they would, blast the asteroid into a trajectory that would send it away from the solar system and make it something they wouldn't be able to get? I I don't know if that's enough. I mean, certainly they're putting a lot of effort into getting it because, oh, it'll do so much good for mankind, which I still don't believe. It'll do good for the people who can control the resources, certainly, but it won't do good for all of mankind. So,
Yeah.
so not having it just keeps the situation at status quo. So I don't know if that's enough to keep the powers that be from, trying to reassert control on Mars. I just don't know. I haven't seen enough to figure out what Dev thinks is going to prevent them from, trying to take it back or just wrest the station from them. But again, then they're still in the same, because that was the original plan, was to get Goldilocks and put it in Mars orbit. They would mine it and send the stuff, and both big countries said, that's too expensive. We can't do that. So it's like, well, you got no choice now, bud.
Yeah, this is a good point. And thank you to A World in Pajamas for the £5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. A World in Pajamas says, I just finished late night studying and wanted to wish you the best for the new year. I am scared Danielle may not make it back to Earth. Me too.
Yes, we both are.
Oh my gosh, I'm really scared. I think, what if Danielle does like something crazy like sacrifice herself for this? I think, we've had enough heroes on the show. I don't want Danielle to be one of those people. I think she's done enough already. She's already broke her arm so somebody could go home. Um, will she end up being a martyr, Julian?
I would hope not. I think it would be for the wrong reasons. But because I really don't. Sure, U.S. and Soviet Union are playing nice together. We have to work together to utilize space, but I don't figure that's it doesn't seem like it's helping everybody. You would think that it would be helping everybody out, and it's not. It's only benefiting those who control the resources, and that's still the same old, same old. And so I guess it comes down to, is she willing to just fight for the status quo, or is she wanting to? I don't think she's been presented with anything better yet.
Yeah, it's a good point. And A World in Pajamas, again, thank you for the £5 super chat. Says, Happy New Year. Only stayed for a few seconds. It's 3:30 a.m. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you as well, my dear. And yes, I agree. I hope she doesn't get caught in the crossfire.
Same
Goodness
here.
knows she's very vulnerable because she's trusting people. And Gary says she could be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Darth Plato says, I think that's Kelly's purpose on Mars. You think Kelly's gonna not make it? I can't say the death word. You think Kelly's not gonna make it, Darth Plato? Not Kelly. Poor Alex has already lost one parent. Now he's gonna lose his mom, and he's so young. Oh no. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. But something, Julian, I think what's really interesting about what we're seeing, at least from this show, is that overall, it doesn't feel like there's any one person that has overall control at this point. And I think that is very interesting, the way that they've written the show. I can't say for certain that one person is in a better position than another. I can't say that. I think it's very interesting, this domino effect of so many variables that's going on in the show, that I can't honestly say that I know for sure what's going to happen or think it's going to lean one way or another. What about you?
I can't figure out where it's going to go either. I'm really intrigued to find out. Is their plan going to go off without a hitch? Well, it's not going to go off without a hitch, but is it going to work? Is it going to work without creating some sort of catastrophe that's going to put a whole bunch of people in danger? Um, I don't know, but right now it does seem pretty, localized to, the main issues are happening out on Mars. Our people that we care about are in danger, and so we just hope it works out all right.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of luck in this one, because as I said, I don't think switching out those components was going to have the effect that they had hoped for. Right now, it was just that box that looked like it was damaged, but I suspect that that wasn't the only thing that was damaged. What do you think, Julian? Do you think there's more components on that ship that are damaged?
No, no. She deliberately sent it right into the vent of the discriminator box that they needed to change. They took it out, and that's what was damaged, was the discriminator box. That's what sent the signal. It said there was something wrong with it when it went dead. So I think she was very selective, made sure it was just that part, because that was all that they needed to change, and that's all they changed out. I don't have any reason to suspect that anything else on the ship is damaged. But, it's a thought. We'll see, though.
And A World of Pajamas says, Artem, we need Kelly to live. Don't pick on the biologist. Wouldn't you want to be in her shoes collecting samples? Yes, I would. I would love to be collecting samples on Mars right now. And I know you are a biologist, and so am I. This would be wonderful opportunity. A World in Pajamas. Let's go. Let's go do it. I just find it exciting. That's why I'm so amazed at the notion of how Dev was not even interested in hearing what she had to say when she had all those results. And there might have been other scientists on this Unhappy Valley who might want to hear it, but she wanted to share it with Dev for a reason, to show him how far she's come. She's been working on this for 15, 16 years. And it must have been terribly disappointing to her to see how disinterested Dev was. Obviously it had to be something, although I don't know what could be more important than finding, alien life, but it had to be something that she knew. It had to be something terribly important, where he didn't even care to listen to the rest of her information. As a mission leader, I'd want to know everything that's going on. He doesn't even care. It could be something that could be beneficial to him somehow, but he's not even looking at things from that point of view. He has tunnel vision. Unfortunately. Oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Darth Plato says that he thinks Kelly will bring Ed around, and that Ed's shaky hand
Yeah, I was just
comes in.
looking at his. Yeah.
And that's
I
very
was just looking at his statements. Yeah.
And the Vasic says all the characters are short-sighted. Something like finding life on Mars will bring everyone together. Thank you for saying that. And Darth Vader says Dev will regret bringing Cal. I think he does. Or life from Earth. And hey, Mario Lopez says, hi, Mario. How are you? Says, hi, everyone. I just woke up. I'm going to fall asleep in a few minutes because it's 3:45 a.m. Great show. Yes, it is a great show. Mario, happy New Year to you. Great to see you tonight. Enjoy your sleep, Mario. But I have to say, this is really giving us food for thought. I did rewatch last week's episode, and I saw those dog robot-y creatures in the episode. And like I said, they're there, but I believe that they're programmed to remove Dev in the event of an emergency on Happy Valley to a safe place. That's what they're actually master controlled for. They're not controlled for anything else other than that. At least that's what I believe Dev would do. He would kind of have an override. We've seen Dev have an override for a lot of things. He doesn't seem to be worried But surely Dev has heard the whispering around the station and seen the lockdown. Is he aware of what's going on? Does he care? Or is he going to let everybody take the fall, let everybody else be the fall guy?
I don't know. He's kind of. It feels like he's planting his flag on Mars. You know that this is his place where he's going to be. I don't know if he would just try and back out if things started to go wrong. I mean, he does see he's self-serving, but if Mars has been what he wants to do, then he talks about trying to see if he's like, we need to see who actually has a backbone to follow this through. Is that just a lot of talk, or is that how he feels about it himself? Is he going to stand up and do all that he can? Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Now, my final question to you has to do with the investigators, the agents that are activated. These guys, I think the thing about them is that they want to hurt somebody. And I'm not going to say that that's their primary reason for being there, but I feel as if they want to, like, other than just poor Milos, they want to break some skulls. Like, they're very aggressive. And, I think they're going to get an answer, even if they have to do this to everybody. Are more people going to get interrogated, Julian?
They could. We're dealing with a Soviet Union that never fell. We're dealing with a U.S. and Soviet antagonism. Even though they're working together, there's a somewhat détente. It's only fueled by the hope that they can divide up the spoils amongst themselves, and keep their power over everybody else. And so they're dealing with the only tools that they really know in this paradigm is those who don't want to play by our rules are going to learn to regret it. So beating the crap out of somebody who's not giving you what you want, that's the way you play by that paradigm. So it's no surprise that they decided that's what they were going to do to him almost right off after he didn't give them any information.
And Danielle seems to be the only person who knows, who they are. So she has the inside scoop on this. And they're pretty sure. I have a feeling that these guys are pretty sure they already know what's going on. Do they, Julian? Do these agents know there's a second operation going on right there in Happy Valley?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, they've been told by their governments that there's a danger to their government's interests. And the way they're seeing it, of course, because of what happened before, like with the bombing at Johnson Space Center, they're assuming that it's some sort of, they mention it, they're so afraid it's a terrorist type thing that's going on. They're thinking that somebody's going to, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, they were talking about, these are the Danielle and the others, they were talking about how these are our shipmates up there and we don't want anything to happen to them. So they're assuming the worst. They're assuming that somebody is plotting to do something to the ship instead of what's actually being planned. And so for all they know, they're just trying to ferret out a terrorist, cell type of thing. And well, we know how we treated, certain people down in Guantanamo and other places over the, past years.
Will there be like a Guantanamo Bay in Happy Valley?
Oh, that's a thought. I don't know if they have personnel for it.
I mean, we've already had an astronaut exiled on Mars once. Could it happen again?
I don't know. I think at this point there might be kind of like a backlash. A lot of people they just want to make the place work for them. They don't want an overbearing governmental presence, I don't think. But, yeah, what do I know?
A World in Pajamas says, RM, we will fund our own missions in the future. We will go to Mars. Julian can captain the ship, and we will do the science. Only teasing. I think Ed may have dementia. Hence manic decisions. Yeah, I'm fine with this. A World in Pajamas. I'm totally fine. Let's go. I'm ready for this mission, and I know exactly what we can do. Thank you so much, A World in Pajamas. I so appreciate it. And Gary says finale next week. Oh my god, I know. Should we do a live watch party? Can we? Like, what time does it come out, Julian?
What do you mean?
What time does the episode release? Is it like midnight? Is it?
Oh, I usually get no, I usually get a notification like in midday on Thursday saying, "Oh, a new episode of For All Mankind is now available." So I don't know. I haven't charted exactly what time it is that they release the. I wonder if I still have it in my notifications here.
Okay. Because I think it would be great. Oh, thanks, Jim Watari. Hey, Jim Watari, how are you? Happy New Year to you, Jim Watari. Hope you are well. Says 6 p.m. Thursday Pacific Standard Time. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Jim Watari says that's when it comes out. And that's good to know. I cannot do a watch party, I don't think, next week, but at that time. But I have to check. It would be great. It would kind of be great to do it live. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do, let's see, it would be 9 p.m. I have to think about that. It is kind of late, and I know we're going to want to talk more about it, but it's something to think about because, this finale is going to be remarkable. And World of Pajamas says Guantanamo Bay is an interesting idea, definitely a possibility. Yeah, because they're not going to bring those people back to Earth, right, Julian? These guys, I wouldn't shuttle them or spend a penny shuttling them back to Earth. I would just make them work off. Maybe I'd make them work off how much they owe. Technically speaking, they're millionaires, I guess. They've been promised a lot by Dev, but it's something to think about how that's going to play out, because I have a feeling they're not going to get what they're owed. I think there's going to be a lot more machinations in these contracts and agreements. What do you think, Julian?
Well, so I guess it depends on what rightly can Dev do regarding control of Helios assets, the rockets, the ships that they're using to go out and back and forth to Mars. How much is are the Earth, the M7 group, how dependent are they on Helios for that work? So, have they just kind of relegated everything to Helios and said you're kind of like portioned it out and said you're in charge of building all the ships, because that was the big stick point when they were talking about doing it around Mars in the first place. When they looked at how much in new capital investment it was going to take for new ships to build and resources and personnel and all that, it sounds like the U.S. and the Soviets are not really into the spaceship building business anymore. So if they've relegated all that to Helios, then Helios could say, I mean, sure, they could take over Helios and try and control it and do that if they wanted to get back at Dev if the asteroid capture is successful. But what if Dev has something that, some sort of virus that would worm into all the software, and he says, you guys, if you touch any of our stuff, it's going down. It's not going to work for you. That is something that I could suspect that he might have thought about. If he thought about this in advance enough, perhaps he could have put some sort of ticking time bomb in there that it's like, if things don't go the way we want, they're going to try and do this. It's like the chess game, thinking moves ahead. Maybe Dev has been thinking moves ahead of what's going to happen once we take this rock from them. What are they going to do? And, maybe he has foreseen that if they're dependent on Helios and they try and get Helios wrested away from him because he's on Mars, he might have something that would stop that from happening. And then they'd be at square one trying to get back out there to stop them.
Absolutely. And A World in Pajamas says, could you see Margot going to Mars? I could see her doing that, but she doesn't like space, right, Julian? She hates it. That would be like something she would despise. But she has to, I think she probably should leave the Earth after everything that's gone on. I don't think any place on Earth is going to be safe for Margot.
Did she
And
actually say she doesn't like space?
didn't she say that?
I don't remember that hearing anything about that. I don't know.
All right. Well, if anybody in the chat knows, does Margot say that she doesn't care for space, or maybe I'm thinking of a different character in a different show? But
maybe it's air flight or something that she doesn't like. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And it's something to think about. But Earth is not a safe place for her. John says, I was surprised at Sergey being shot. Yeah, it sucked, didn't it, John? That really was a zinger. Especially since he was so damn happy. Oh, gosh. And Darth Plato said, hold on, Guantanamo Bay happened because the inmates were from places that weren't at war with the U.S., which is why they were held indefinitely. The situation on Mars is different. True. And you two, World in Pajamas, a lot of us were surprised. Gary says there's no burgers. You know what? I guarantee you there's McDonald's and a lot of burger on Happy Valley. I just have this feeling. I'm surprised we haven't seen that product placement already. The other thing I was going to say is, what was I going to say? I was going to say something else. And what was it? I'm forgetting what I was going to say. Oh, yes. Why is the United States so reluctant to okay the funding? Julian, will they ever okay it?
Oh, the funding to start building new or replacement stuff for things that are phasing out. That's been the bane of budgetary wrangles forever.
I wasn't sure if it was significant.
The Pentagon is always dealing with how much are we going to be able to pay for this, that, and the other, and who gets the budget this year. What special fund program is going to get it. So of course they're going to take as long as they can to decide what they want to do, and I think a lot of it they've put an awful lot of money into trying to catch Goldilocks on this supposed the wealth that we're going to get from it, when they can assume that there's an awful lot of stuff in there. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to know exactly what the wealth potential. What if it came up short? What if it didn't have as much stuff in it as they thought it would? It's so silly. It could be something totally different in there, and that only the smallest bit of iridium or whatever it is that they're trying to get out of this thing. But I can see they've put a lot of money, both governments have put a lot of money and hope into getting this thing, and so they're probably like, well, if we can't get it, if it doesn't go right, do we really want to put money down for building more ships for Helios?
Yeah, and it is something to think about going forward. Certainly, it might bankrupt Helios because they'll go ahead and throw money at something and then not be able to collect for whatever reason. No burgers in space, plenty of space cakes in Ed's Bakery. Something to think about. Julian, final thoughts on this incredible episode right before the season finale episode of season 4 for All Mankind.
I tell you what, I'm nervous. There's so much going on with, and what could go wrong, and what might work, and who is in danger of getting, injured or hurt. I don't. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, and how. I'm sure that it's going to be almost a bit of a cliffhanger that we're going to be given. You know. Um,
A cliffhanger?
well, maybe not. They really haven't done that to us, have they?
No,
Um,
that would
yeah.
break me.
Yeah. Well, it's either going to work or it's not. But you know what? I, I think somehow they're going to get away with it.
Gary says a rock hanger. I want to thank A World in Pajamas for the super chats. Thank you so much, A World in Pajamas. I so appreciate your generosity tonight. I also want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson, our moderator, collaborator, and good friend, for being here as usual. We are all goof people, Tom. Certainly do appreciate you being here as well. I want to thank everybody who was in the chat here tonight. No, I don't know the runtime. Does anybody know the runtime of the season finale? I have no idea how long that will be. I'd have to look. Does it say on the screen when you look at it? I guess I could look. It says on the screen how long the runtime is. 1 hour and 16 minutes. It's 1 hour and 16 minutes for the final perestroika. Season finale, tensions on Earth and Mars come to a head. Yes. Um, and thank you.
Perestroika, that's telling.
Yes. Uh, A World in Pajamas for another £5 super chat. Really? Thank you. Says, I need to go. I'm tired, but I could discuss this show with you for some time. I love it. Take care. Same to you, my dear. Such a pleasure. Definitely reach out to me. I hope I have your right email address. We have a lot to talk about. Certainly, it'll be nice to talk to another biologist out there. And I hope you have pleasant dreams, my dear. And Basic says, yes, nice. Isn't it great that we have an extra long episode? An hour and 16 minutes, that's almost like a movie length. But they certainly have been generous with these episodes, Julian. We've been getting a lot of content here, and I've been loving every minute of it. I am so grateful for what they've provided. One of the best seasons ever, and certainly a lot to think about. A lot to think about as Danielle wants to go back home and show her grandkids Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, that's the third one,
Yeah.
right? She wants her grandkids to be Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
You everybody for being here. Julian, of course, thank you as always for being here as well. Really enjoy reviewing this and many other things with you too. Of course, you're going to be joining me on Roman Empire Matters, my other channel as well. I'm looking forward to that. And guys, please to subscribe to the Burnettwork, to Positive Fandom, Roman Empire Matters. Do check out Julian here on the Burnettwork on Positive Fandom. Where else can people find you, Julian?
They can find me on Instagram, and they can find me on Facebook, Julian Mushkin. And they can find me here on YouTube as Mushjul is my handle. So yeah, or write some comments in on any of our streams there. Through the stuff we've talked about before, which is always fun. It was very lively conversation in the stream tonight. That's for sure. In the chats.
Absolutely, guys. It was great hearing everybody's comments and concerns and what you thought would happen and what might not happen. Certainly, let's see who survives the end of season 4 of For All Mankind. And please let Danielle make it home. Please let her come home safe. So she can raise another little Trekkie. Guys, thank you so much for the support and everything. And remember, everybody out there, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.